We are going to get started shortly. We just want to make sure to let everyone in. And while you're waiting, we want to invite you to introduce yourself in the chat. You can share your name and where you're from and a few words to share what part of Mid-City do you spend the most time in and what takes you to Mid-City. And as you are writing your own, please feel free to read what other people write so that we can get to know each other a little bit while we wait.
Do we need to write it in or can we say it?
You can put it in the chat. So because there are 47 of us here, so it would be easiest if you could put it in the chat. But thank you, Maria, for the question.
You're welcome. Oh, is that all? You're welcome.
I see these greetings coming in. I'll put my own. Facilitators, also feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat with the prompt. Thank you all. We have people from all over. Some of us who commute into Mid-City, some of us who live in Mid-City. And again, if you're just arriving, we're just doing some introductions for a couple more minutes to make sure that everyone who wants to be here joins us before we get started. We'll start probably in about 2 minutes at 6:05 or so. And again, if you're not familiar, you can scroll through the chat so that you can get to know what other people are writing and get to know other people who are here. We'll have a little bit of time to get to know each other generally because we'll be moving into breakout rooms, but also this chat will be open for conversation and for input throughout the evening. Some people that I recognize are here too. Welcome to anyone who's just arriving. We're going to start very soon, about a minute or so. All right, so I think it's time to get started. So I want to welcome everyone.
Es hora de empezar y quiero... Oh, sorry, I thought I was in the interpretation channel.
Oh, that's okay. Actually, we're about to give some direction around that. I want to take a moment to provide instructions for anyone who is in need of interpretation in Spanish or in Vietnamese. We have Romina and Jacqueline. They're our interpreters. So those of us who are participating in English, there's nothing that we need to do if you are in need of interpretation. You can see on the bottom of a laptop or desktop computer, that's where your controls are, your Zoom controls, and you should find a globe with the word interpretation below it, and you can click on that. If you're on a handheld device, then you're looking for the 3 dots and the interpretation option from the menu, and you can click interpretation from there. Then you'll be able to select which language you want to hear. Optionally, you can also mute the original audio, which will be us speaking in English if it's too distracting to happen simultaneously. And I want to invite first Romina to offer these instructions in Spanish.
Hola a todos, ¿qué tal? Buenas tardes, habla Romina, seré la intérprete en español esta tarde. para reiterar lo que se dijo en inglés, pueden conectarse a la opción de interpretación en modo en español, haciendo clic a lo que viene siendo un mundo. Luego pueden seleccionar español o Spanish, siguiendo los 3 puntitos suspensivos para poder escuchar su intérprete Romina esta tarde en español mientras todo se va diciendo en vivo. Gracias.
Thank you, Romina. Also, if anyone is having any trouble, you can put it in the chat and we will help you out with that. But I want to pass it over to Jacqueline to offer these instructions in Vietnamese.
Xin chào quý vị. Trong cuộc họp hôm nay, chúng tôi sẽ sử dụng dịch vụ thông dịch. Khi cuộc họp bắt đầu, quý vị sẽ thấy biểu tượng quả địa cầu ở cuối màn hình. Nếu quý vị tham gia và sử dụng Chromebook, quý vị sẽ có thấy hình ảnh địa cầu. Nếu quý vị sử dụng điện thoại di động, hãy chạm vào 3 cái chấm ở dưới cái mặt hình của điện thoại của mình. Nó có chữ more ở đó, thì theo cái điều đó mình có thể chọn cái ngữ của mình, thì quý vị chọn tiếng Việt là Vietnamese. Và nếu mà quý vị chỉ muốn nghe cái người thông dịch như là tôi cho bữa nay, thì xin vui lòng chọn Mute Original Audio, tại vì cái đài đó người ta sẽ nói tiếng Anh. Và sau khi đó mình sẽ vô trong một cái nhóm riêng để mình chia sẻ. Thì trong đó quý vị có thể chia sẻ với tôi thẳng. Cảm ơn. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we're getting started. I want to welcome everyone to the Mid-City Communities Plan Update virtual workshop. And my name is Catherine. I'm from a company called Imagine. We are a creative engagement company that's partnered as a consultant on this project. My role this evening is to facilitate here in the main room and to support some of our transitions. And there are many of us actually who are facilitating either in the main room or in small groups. And so I want to pass it to a co-facilitator, and that is Matt.
Good evening, everyone. I am Matt Geldman from Ascent. We are an urban planning firm helping the city with the Mid-Cities Community Plan Update. And I'll be helping Catherine as well as Alex Frost, project manager for the city, to conduct our meeting tonight. So looking forward to talking with many of you this evening.
And we'd like to pass it over to Alex Frost for an introduction.
Good evening, everyone. Alex Frost, as Max introduced me, I'm the project manager for the Mid-City Plan Update. I work for the City Planning Department. And with me today is Selena Sanchez and Aparna Padmakumar, who is the Center for the Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. So as you may already know, the reason why we're here is because the City of San Diego is updating the Mid-City Communities Plan. And it's been 25 years, and the purpose is to be responsive and relevant to all the current conditions of these communities. So we're at the beginning of this process, and really our main goal today is to receive input from you all. We are here to listen. So I want to share the agenda. Next slide. Yep. So here's the plan for the day. In a moment, Alex will be sharing why we are updating the Mid-City Communities Plan. He's also going to be sharing what are some things that we've heard already because we've had some recent engagements. We're going to share some engagements that are coming up because there are many opportunities for you all to be giving input. And then we're going to be interacting with you. We want to do some interactive polls, so you'll get to hear from each other. We're also going to break out into small groups. That is where the majority of the time will be spent. You'll probably spend about an hour in discussion groups. There will be a facilitator and also someone taking notes. So we'll be diligently documenting all the input that you give. At around 7:45, we'll come back together for just some concluding remarks and some questions and answers, and that will conclude our agenda, our time for today. Anything you want to add to that, Matt?
Nope. Let's carry on. Thank you.
Carry on. Okay, so on to the next slide. So yeah, there are, as I said, there's a team of us here. We are all working in some capacity, not only this evening, but on this project generally. We play various roles to support the city, both in gathering meaningful input and also in including as many communities, as many voices as possible in this process. So first and foremost, of course, we have the City of San Diego represented. We also have a few other consultants, Ascent, Imagine, and Chen Ryan. And for this evening, all of us are primarily in the role of facilitator and listening. So we're really here, as I said, to listen and document your input. And next slide. So as you've started to see, the chat is open. You can start to give input via the chat. In a little bit, we're going to have some polls, some Slido polls, where we'll be able to start to even interact with each other, hear what other people are saying. We're going to be in these discussion groups, as I mentioned, and then there will be some additional time to offer a little bit of input at the end, hopefully. But there are all kinds of ways for you to give input tonight, and we are really looking forward to hearing from you. Next slide. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Alex. He's going to spend about 15 minutes or so giving you an overview of the purpose of this.
Thanks, Catherine. Next. So the city's updating the community plan helps shape the future of Mid-City area for the next 20 to 30 years. As Catherine mentioned, it's been 25 years since the adoption of the current plan, which was in 1998. A lot has changed since then. The update of the plan will serve as a 30-year vision for land use, mobility or transportation, urban design, public facilities and services, natural resources, historic and cultural resources, and economic development. The main focus of the plan update is to address regional growth and housing needs, understanding community needs and enhance quality of life, evaluate infrastructure demand, and reduce environmental impact. Next. Mid-City planning area includes 4 communities: City Heights, Eastern Area, Kensington Talmadge, Normal Heights. And within these communities, there are 22 neighborhoods. Around 133,000 people live in the Mid-City area as of 2022, which is approximately 10% of the city population. Next. Plan update was launched this winter, and we're currently in phase 1 to gather community ideas from people that live and work and visit Mid-City. Overall, the plan update is scheduled to be a 3-year process. Next. So moving on to recent and upcoming activities. Next. During phase 1, we launched a project website with a short video and a fact sheet in 3 most common languages spoken in Mid-City, which is English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. We are offering multiple opportunities for people to provide input, including pop-ups, online survey, through the joint Mid-City Communities Plan Update Working Group, community office hours, workshops, through youth engagement activities, meetings, and partnership with community-based organizations, and tech-based input, launching in June. And I'll briefly cover all the activities. Next. City staff, consulting team, and students from Cal Poly SLO have hosted over 13 pop-ups across Mid-City since January to go where people gather. Next. We also launched a short online survey and convened a joint Mid-City working group, which will meet quarterly with the first meeting scheduled on June 26th. Next. During February, March, city staff hosted 6 community office hours to provide an opportunity for residents to drop in and talk to us about their community at local libraries and recreation centers. We'll be offering more community office hours during the phase 2 and 3 of the plan update. Next. Last Saturday, we hosted the in-person workshop at Hoover High School. And there was a robust discussion about the past, present, and the future of Mid-City. The first workshop with the Planning Commission is scheduled in September to share what we heard from the community and to also hear from the commissioners. Typically, during the plan update process, we organize around 3 workshops with the Planning Commission. Next. This plan update has a strong focus on youth engagement. Our project team has engaged with both middle school and high school students, which Catherine has been leading the youth engagement process. Next. Here's a brief highlight of what we're hearing from Hoover High School students. As part of the youth engagement, students took photographs of what they appreciated and what they wanted to change in their neighborhood, while also providing some answers about how they describe neighborhood today and what they like to see in the future. The students are describing their neighborhood today as very nice, full of variety in people and places, loud, dirty, unkept, boring, and expensive. My neighborhood is what we call the hood, but there are nice things. Okay with time to improve for better things. And also, I would also describe it as loving, because a lot of people are going through the same struggle. They're kind to each other. And for the future, the students would like to see more places to hang out, have more stores near me, cleaner and in better condition. They would like their community to be more safe, a little more green, more trees, better and cleaner roads, public workout gyms for people. And finally, more trees, many hangout spots like parks and stores, good transportation, and less pollution. Next. We've also been meeting with various community-based organizations and presenting at community forums to provide an overview of the Mid-City Plan update. In January of this year, I presented at the El Cajon Boulevard Business Improvement Association's annual meeting. And we also met with Partnership for Advancement of New Americans and community planning groups in March and April. There are 4 community planning groups in Mid-City area: City Heights, Eastern Area, Normal Heights, and Kensington Talmadge. And we will be going to them periodically, at least once every 4 to 5 months, to provide them with update and also hear their expertise and their knowledge about the community. We also met with Price Philanthropies, who's been instrumental in revitalizing City Heights area. And I presented at the Crawford Community Collaborative and City Heights Roundtable in April, and we've been meeting with various CBOs, and this will continue throughout the process. We are also partnering with City Heights Community Development Corporation to host 4 mini workshops focused on underrepresented groups and additional pop-ups and meetings. Next. Finally, we'll be launching a text-based input platform in June. We'll be posting signage and flyers around Mid-City, such as libraries, coffee shops, recreation centers, and major bus stops, to allow opportunity for people to provide feedback via their phone, since we're all on our phones all the time, right? So there'll also be a web-based version that will be available. Next. This is a word cloud of what we have been hearing so far via our online survey and pop-ups about how people describe Mid-City today and in the future, or their neighborhoods. Some of the common words we've been hearing about Mid-City: diversity, right? Diverse, multicultural, diversity, also family-oriented, community-oriented, infrastructure deficient, a lot of comments about potholes, right? Roads, lack of parks, also vibrant, dense, walkable, a lot of comments about homelessness, no parking, busy, historic, car dependent, suburban, unique, unsafe, dangerous, crowded, unaffordable, expensive, safe, cool, the whole gamut, which really highlights the diversity, right? And the unique identities of the Mid-City area. And in terms of what would make Mid-City better tomorrow? We're hearing a lot about affordability, right? Being able to stay in Mid-City, better infrastructure, safer, cleaner, more housing, connected, transit-rich, mixed use, walkable, better infrastructure. Some people want to see their community unchanged, community-oriented, diverse, more parking, historic, family-oriented, bikeable, better roads, equitable. So these are some of the words. This is preliminary analysis. So the final analysis will be available when we release our public engagement summary. Next. So as I mentioned, upcoming reports and studies, we are preparing several studies related to existing conditions. In early June, we'll be releasing the Mid-City Atlas Existing Conditions Report, which is a community snapshot related to history and place, sustainability, equity, and climate resilience, land use and development, mobility, transportation, and parks, public facilities, and open space. There'll be a collection of maps, photos, graphs, and charts to better understand where we are today. By end of the summer, we're planning to release the public engagement summary, which will synthesize everything we heard for all the public engagement activities. While in the fall and winter of this year, we plan to release a detailed multimodal mobility assessment and historic context statement and survey. Now I'm going to pass it to Matt for the main event today to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Well, the main purpose of us being here tonight is to hear from you. And so we're going to do that through a variety of ways. The first way we're going to do that is through a text-based poll. It's a phone-based polling. So if you have your phone handy, please pull that out and you can point that at the QR code, which should take you to the poll. If you do not have your smartphone handy and you'd like to access it from a browser, you can open up your browser on your phone or on another window of your laptop and go to slido.com and enter in the code 6488866. I'll give you all a moment to do that. I'm going to be following along as we go so that I can keep pace of how long it's taking. So bear with me as I follow along with you in real time. If you have any trouble accessing Slido, please put a message into the chat. If that is not working for you, we'll announce the questions and you can just type into the chat. But we'd like to get things started here through some poll. So give you a moment or two to get over there. I know the screen just changed, but the information is still on the left side. It asks for your email as well as your name. So if you wouldn't mind entering that in. Give you just a second if you're still working on getting into Slido. The first two questions we have for Slido are related to the vision, and these are the same questions that were asked through the online poll and some of the results that we shared earlier on some of the previous slides. But the first question is, how would you describe Mid-City today? And the second question is, what would make Mid-City better tomorrow? So I know we've got quite a number of people on the meeting tonight, and I'm seeing 10 people have responded. So I want to give you all a little bit longer to complete the poll questions. As we're working on that, I do see a lot of dialogue in the chat, which is great. We will have a lot of opportunities to talk about many of the things that people are bringing up here when we get to the discussion groups in just a moment. And again, we're looking for answers to two questions. How would you describe Mid-City today? And it looks like diverse is the standout word we're hearing from all the responses today, which matches what we have heard so far from the online survey. Outdated commercial areas, underserved, neglected, segregated, has potential, centrally located, community friendly, cars, changing, underserved is getting bigger. And I see we're getting more responses. I see a response in the chat for more affordable housing and transit. That sounds like a tomorrow answer. Let's take a look at the results for the second question. What would make Mid-City better tomorrow? Strong emphasis on these results for affordability and investment. Affordable housing. I think the investment and affordability hopefully would lead to affordable housing. So those all go together. Redevelopment, walkable, equity, safety, better community structure, new housing opportunities, single family homes, preserved. I see some responses for transit friendly, better transportation. Someone mentioned parking. So a lot of good responses. I think we can keep moving on. I don't see anyone else working to complete the poll. So thank you for everyone for completing that. And if you're not able to follow along on Slido, appreciate you putting responses into the chat. That is just fine. So let's go on to our next questions about what we're calling our Mid-City. Just a little bit of quick questions for us to understand where people spend time in Mid-City and the relationship people have to Mid-City who are participating tonight. So we have 4 questions. Where do you live? Where do you work? What place in Mid-City is your favorite or is special to you? And where do you hang out with friends? So we're just trying to get a sense of what you like about Mid-City and where you spend your time. If you don't live in Mid-City, you know, that is quite all right. We still want to know that. And if you don't work in Mid-City, we want to know that too, and kind of where you have to get to on a day-to-day basis. So all of this is very helpful for us. And of course, we want to know where you spend time with those last 2 questions. Give you a chance to respond. Again, if you're not able to use Slido, feel free to put your responses into the chat. Questions are, where do you live? Where do you work? Where is there special places in Mid-City? And where do you spend time with friends?
I'm also appreciating that there are folks who are reacting to each other's comments. There's hearts and thumbs up, and it's one way to start getting our dialogue going. So you can also read what other people put there and interact on that side.
Give just a moment longer to respond. Maybe we can take a peek at some of the results coming in. I think we knew we had representation from throughout Mid-City and beyond this evening. So it's great to see a lot of representation from the neighborhoods throughout. And what about where people work? Working from home, working from areas beyond Mid-City, it looks like. Some people in City Heights, which is great, downtown, North Park, City Heights, great. Some remote work. All right, and how about the next question? What place in Mid-City is your favorite or special to you? Don't have one. We've got to fix that. There's so much to see and do in Mid-City. Copley Y restaurants, the College Rolando Library, Trolley Barn Park, Choyas Creek, Little Saigon, Adams Avenue, Water Conservation Garden in Azalea Park, the Mead Bikeway, Cano, Adams Avenue, Little Saigon and the park, Colina del Sol Park and Recreation Center. A lot of great places. Dao Fu. Awesome. I see people are still working on completing the polls. That's great. Let's take a look at the last question, which I think will still allow people to respond, but where do you hang out with friends? At home, restaurants, college area, Choyas Lake, Normal Heights, Rolando Park, another from Normal Heights, all over the city, Scrimshaw Coffee Shop. Awesome. Blind Lady, Black Cat and Cafeina, restaurants on University El Cajon, sporting events, concerts, park, Crawford High. A lot of different places throughout Mid-City. There's a nice list that someone shared. Gem Coffee, Terralta Park, Ali's Chicken and Waffles, Rosa's Ice Cream. All right. Someone put in the chat recreational centers, and someone observed it's mostly bars that have been reported in the chat tonight. I see a lot of parks on here too, though.
And give it up for the homebodies. Lots of around too.
Thank you. All right. Let's move on to the last little section of questions we have for the polls. This is our last section of polls before we get to the breakout. There's a few questions under this section, which include, the first question is, which community do you want to provide feedback on? So if you're, someone who really represents Normal Heights, for example, and you want to provide feedback through these questions specific to Normal Heights, please indicate that. If you're more general and thinking about Mid-City as a whole, there is an option to select all Mid-City. It's just a way for us to kind of target some of the input, if that makes sense for you to do in your responses to the next three questions. The questions we're asking are, how can people of all backgrounds and incomes live and work in Mid-City? There are a variety of options to select from under that, and you'll be able to select one of those options. The second question is, how can we make it easier for people to walk or roll, bike, and take transit in Mid-City? So a question about transit and some of the things that we may want to consider as part of the community plan update. Again, this is the beginning of our conversation tonight, and we'll have a lot of time to talk more about this in our breakout groups in just a moment. And then the last question we have for the Slido poll is, how do we make Mid-City more adaptable, equitable, and resilient? So thinking about climate change and resiliency. So a lot to think about in there, and a lot of options. Can you go to the first question, please? All right, so this is the where question. Which community do you want to provide feedback on? It looks like representation from most of the communities, except no one has completed it for Kensington Talmadge. So if that's you, let's see if we can get a response, or perhaps you selected all Mid-City. Let's go on to the next question so we can talk about some of these. how can people of all backgrounds and incomes live and work in mid-cities? So you can see some of the options here. Affordable housing, mixed-use developments, multifamily housing, missing middle housing, preventing displacement and protecting tenants. And if you have other ideas, we've tried to create a blank spot in there. So it looks like a lot of interest in mixed use development, some interest in different types of housing as well as protecting displacement and protecting tenants. Let's go on and take a look at the next. How can we make it easier for people to walk and roll, bike, and use transit? So far, based on the responses we've received, sidewalks, trees, and landscaping is the primary response, followed by transit options, bike safety, and ped safety and connectivity. And I know we're still getting people responding, which is great. And let's take a look at the third. How do we make Mid-City more adaptable, equitable, and resilient? Parks and recreation areas. Looks like some people have provided other ideas. Civic, cultural, and community spaces, open spaces, canyons, and creek on the bottom of our responses list. So interested to see what the other ideas are. Unfortunately, we can't see them right now. And I see one person still working on our response, so we'll let them complete that. It's like we're done with responses, still thinking. Let's flip back to the poll and just see what, or the first question of the poll, and see what ended up on top for each of them. All right, it looks like since we first looked at the results, other ideas for this question rose to the top. How can people of all backgrounds and incomes live and work in Mid-City? Oh, great to hear that you all have ideas, and we can talk more about those in our breakout groups. Let's go to the next one. How can we make it easier for people to walk, roll, bike, and use transit? Sidewalks, trees, and landscaping as the top response for now. And lastly, let's go to the next question. How do we make Mid-City more adaptable, equitable, and resilient? It looks like parks and recreation areas was the top response selected. So thank you everyone for taking the time to provide your responses through Slido. We are going to be talking about a lot of the same themes here as we transition to our discussion group. So before I give you kind of a preview of what we're going to be talking about, I do want to explain a little bit of the housekeeping and what to expect in the groups themselves. So through Zoom, we are going to create different breakout groups, and you'll be automatically sent to a group that will be led by a note taker and a facilitator who will be able to listen to your answers to some discussion questions that we are going to preview here and take notes. We've got maps and pictures and things that you can respond to and have a conversation about the future of Mid-City. So the questions we're going to be talking about tonight start with land use and development, a fundamental set of questions related to the community plan update. The questions we're going to be asking are, what type of development would you like to see in the future? Where would you like to see new housing? And are there important development amenities you think will benefit our community? So you don't need to take notes on these. We'll make them known to you in the discussion groups, but just wanted to give you a sense of what we're going to be talking about in the groups. So let's go on to see some of the other questions about mobility. The questions for mobility are, what would you need to change? What would need to change for you to walk, bike, or take transit more often? And are there specific places that you feel need improvements? All right. And then parks, open space, and public facilities. Which parks in Mid-Cities are most in need? Which parks in Mid-City are most in need of enhancements? And where are there potential locations or opportunities for future parks, open spaces, trails, or street trees? And lastly, again, some comments on sustainability and climate resiliency, what would make Mid-City more resilient, and what actions can be included in the community plan to improve sustainability efforts. So if that's important to you, we want to hear your ideas for all of these topics. So next, as I mentioned, to start the introduction to the discussion groups, we will be sharing screens and have a board that you're seeing now as a preview. This will be our canvas to take notes for our discussion. If you have ideas for where to put a park or connect trails, we'll be able to draw on the map, or if you have ideas for mobility improvements, we can do that on the map or take notes as well. So that is our task now as we transition to discussion groups. And I think that's, yes, thank you. So Zoom instructions and participation guidelines for the discussion groups. Once you're in the groups, you will be muted and your cameras will be off. You'll have to raise your Zoom hand on the menu to come off of mute. And when you're not speaking, please mute yourself so we can hear others speaking. Please remind us who you are, your name, before you speak, so we know a little bit about you. And if you are not able to or prefer not to unmute yourself, we can still get your comments through the chat box. During the conversation, we want to have a productive civil conversation that everyone can participate in. So we just want to have a respectful environment and be able to get input from everyone. So let's stay on topic and be mindful of our time so we can get through all of the topics that each group has been asked to weigh in on. So I think that's all I need to say about that, hopefully. We will be doing a raffle at the end of the meeting, so stick around to find out who won the raffle, and we'll spin a wheel virtually at the end. So little incentive to hang around. All right, so now I think we've got to do some magic through Zoom, and we will all be whisked away shortly to different breakout rooms. I know it takes a little bit of work to get that there, to get that to work. We appreciate you all taking time out of your evening to come, and we hope that you will engage in the discussion groups and share all of your ideas. And I do see a question about the raffle. We have one $50 gift card to raffle off, so that will go to one lucky winner, not one for everyone, unfortunately. All right, looks like we are headed to our room, so you will be joined by a note taker and facilitator, and see you in the room.
So do I hit join now that it says join?
Yes, go ahead and hit join.
All right, thank you.
Catherine, do you have the ability to move around?
I
We
do
can
actually
do
was
that.
just about to chat with you. Before I move, I was gonna broadcast, but then I realized that's your role that
Yeah.
they have until 7:45. Should we give them that?
Yeah, I'll do some kind of 15-20 minute check-ins, and then I'll text with you all how everybody's doing and make sure we close at a good point.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Then-
feel free to jump around and definitely ping me if you'd like an announcement to go out.
Okay, sounds good.
To the main room. I'm assuming some people are still trickling in. Is everyone back, Paul? That's coming back. Yes, okay. All right, I think we can go to the next slide. We will get to our raffle. And let's go to the next one. Okay. So yeah, thank you everyone for sticking around, participating, and sharing all your comments during the discussion groups. I know in my group, we had a lot of great conversations, ideas, discussions, talking about challenges, land use, housing, transportation, parks. We covered it all, and I hope you all did too. On this slide, you can see here, again, we are at the beginning of the process. This is the part of the process where we're just gathering feedback, getting your ideas. So thank you again for sharing all of that during our discussion groups. There will be more opportunities to participate as the process moves forward and some of these ideas start to become more real through the planning process. Which will result in a first draft of the community's plan update in the spring or fall of 2025. So there will be times before that, but that's kind of one of the big milestones in the process, and looking forward to that. Let's go to the next slide. Some of the immediate upcoming events and engagement opportunities, I think we mentioned most of these, but just to make sure you're aware, we will have working group meetings for the Mid-City CPU Joint Working Group on June 26th and September 11th. Those are the dates we're planning, so stay tuned for details on those opportunities. Alex mentioned also Hello Lamppost, which will be out in the community for you all to respond to the text-based survey, as well as many other people who aren't able to participate in the workshop tonight. And then looking at a planning commission workshop in September. So another big milestone there. Let's go to the next slide. I think this is your slide, Catherine. I don't know if you want to take this one.
I sure can. Yes, and so we also expect that you can receive updates on the website from planmidcity.org. You can email questions directly or any concerns to planmidcity@sandiego.gov. Some of you also on the website, you can sign up to be on the mailing list as well from the planning department, and you can receive some updates there. Next.
All right, so I think we're going to do the raffle now. Where we've got, you can see the preview of the wheel. We're going to spin around. It's going to select someone's name who will be the winner of the raffle, the $50 gift card today. So a little incentive and thank you for everyone who participated. All right, it looks like the wheel is spinning. Rosario, you are the big winner tonight.
Woohoo!
All right. We have your email address from registering. You're on mute, Rosario.
Let me unmute. No, you please do a new one. I was trying to get out of the Zoom. So please just do one more time because no, don't give it to me because no. I was just wanting to observe and then please do that. Don't give it to me. Give it to another person who might. Thank you
Okay.
though, but please do it again. I promise.
Thank you for that. We will respectfully let you decline the gift card and
Thank
spin
you.
again.
Yes, thank you very much.
No, thank you for coming and being so kind about that. So
No,
let's give the wheel another spin. All right, Gladys, are you still here, Gladys?
Maybe, yeah, not anymore.
She's on here. I see you, Gladys.
Let's see.
All right, well.
And Matt, Gladys was in my group earlier, but I don't think her microphone was functioning. So maybe
Okay.
if you want to give her a sec for the chat.
She is here.
Yes, hooray.
All right, we've got a winner. And
Yay!
so Gladys, hey, Paul, can you send Gladys a message with her email address if you're able to do that, just to confirm that we have the right one from registration privately? Thank you. I think that really concludes the main part of our workshop. We will be around to answer any questions or take any other comments that you all may have. We're here for you all tonight. But if you don't want to stay, you don't have to do that. So we will kind of wrap up most of the main part of the meeting. Alex, did you want to say anything else before we kind of transition to Q&A?
Yeah, just the two groups I was in, really thoughtful, nuanced discussion and just some great suggestions. So thank you everyone for taking the time, to participate tonight. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that goes to all the groups. I know my group, we wrestled with some of these big questions that we'll be thinking about throughout the community's plan update. So a lot of these don't have easy answers. So we appreciate you sharing your ideas and comments and perspectives on all of these topics we discussed tonight. So yeah, again, if you'd like to stick around and ask some questions, we'll be here for a little while longer, and as long as that's meaningful and productive. If you want to stick around and listen in, please do. If you'd like to get on with your evening and go on to dinner or whatever's next, feel free to do that. Does anyone have any questions or want to share any comments?
I have a question here in the chat. What happens at the Planning Commission workshop this fall? The timeline appears to just show intake before then. Maybe Alex?
Yeah. So typically when we do these plan updates, at the beginning, we'll go to the Planning Commission and do a workshop and just introduction and, here's the public engagement that we've been doing and, here's what we found from the existing conditions. So it's more of just sharing what we've been hearing from the community and some of the challenges and opportunities. So yeah, it's pretty high level. And then once we have concepts and alternatives and some ideas, more concrete proposals, we'll go back to them again and then get their feedback, kind of like that. And then once we have a discussion draft of the first draft, and then we'll go back again and then just get their feedback as well. So by the time we go to the recommendation, right, Planning Commission makes a recommendation. Ultimately, the City Council is the decision maker, right? They adopt a plan. So they're just familiar with what we've been doing, and so it's just, and they really like to get into the planning process. So that's their request for us to go. It could be 2 times. I don't want to commit to the 3 workshops, but that's been typically the case. And it's just information item. There's no decisions.
And since folks signed up for this workshop, will they be automatically put onto a mailing list, do you know, or should they still try to go on to do that manually?
Yeah, we haven't been putting people on our mailing list unless, you know, they've been signing up themselves. So yeah, please sign up on our website. It's, you know, takes 20 seconds if you wanted to be updated to all the upcoming events.
Okay, that's for you, Edgar. So go ahead and go online. And Bettina's asking, are there any summaries regarding the input that that you've received from today and Saturday that will be available for us to read?
Yes. So all of this will be available. It's gonna take a little bit of time to gather all the feedback. So the plan is to have a public engagement summary and just, you know, appendices with all the raw data and comments before end of summer. Yeah, so that's the plan.
And also there is the option of raising your hand and then we can unmute you too if you don't prefer to type, if you have a question. Someone's asking for a link to the sign up for email updates in the chat. Let's look for that. Maybe we can look for that. Thank you, Scott. Danielle, I see your hand. Would you like to can we unmute you?
Thank you. Alex just mentioned that the raw data is going to be available at the end of the summer. When is the raw data going to be available for the working group? Is that going to be for the June 26th meeting or the September 11 meeting?
Yeah, so the June 26th meeting is probably conversations going to center around the existing conditions report, the Mid-City Atlas. So that will be coming out in a few weeks, and that's just, you know, mapping what exists today and, you know, what are the park deficit and all the inventory, right? It's just basically inventorying the assets in the community and some of the long-term like macro trends, you know, what has changed in the 20 years. So those will be some of the early findings. At the September working group meeting, that's when we'll probably like present like everything we've been hearing. You know, these are the major, you know, priorities, vision, values, goals, and some ideas. So that's when, yeah, the September meeting. So we'll hopefully release the public engagement summary a little bit before that, and then have all the raw data as well.
Great. And as you can see, Paul has put in the link for where you can sign up to be on the mailing list. And another question from Jeff. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Please let me know if I did. Will there be more focused planning forums at the community neighborhood level?
Yeah, I think it's part of, you know, zooming into corridors and activity hubs, you know, existing and new, and how can we, you know, enhance the existing kind of business districts, corridors. Yeah, we'll be definitely zooming in as part of the planning process as we go further and further. So yeah, that will be part of it.
And Koa is asking, can the public attend the working group meetings to give public comment? And the answer to that we know is yes. They are open to the public. That's the meeting on June 26th in the evening, and then on September 11th.
Mm-hmm. And we've talked about, you know, the working group format is to be flexible. So if we wanted to do like a design workshop or more interactive breakout, then we could, you know, offer that as well at these working group meetings, but not at the June one, but the future meeting. So we'll be exploring, you know, and the working group will be meeting in different communities each quarter. So. And it will be in person, but also hybrid. So you can attend virtually as well if you can't come in person.
Yay for the in-persons.
Yes, you can come in person or you can just join virtually. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and leave, but I just want to say thank you to all of you guys that hosted it today. You all did a tremendous job. You helped us all, and I'm glad that we were able to also give some insight. So it's been a long day today. So yeah, I just want to say thank you. And I'm going to finally go home after only being home for, maybe 10 minutes out of the whole day.
Thank you, Maria.
You're welcome.
And anybody else who needs to step off, please feel free. But I think a couple of us can still be here for a few more minutes if there's an urgent question or something else on your mind before we wrap up.
Got a question from Edgar. But,
Oh no, I was just saying thank you. It was a round of applause. I didn't
okay,
raise my hand.
thank you, Edgar,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
All right, looks like we're wrapping up.
Yes, time for dinner for me, for a lot of us. So. All right, take care.
Really.